At 94, she moves slower than she used to, but there's something about the way she carries herself that draws you in. Her name is Frances. And if you ask anyone in the building who seems the most alive, the most grounded, the most at peace with herself, they'll point to her. Not because she's loud, not because she has all the answers, but because she radiates a quiet kind of energy, the kind that doesn't fade with age. It deepens. Frances has lived through wars, through grief, through children being born and grown and lost and returned, through heartbreaks and miracles, through rotary phones and FaceTime. And when people ask her what keeps her going, not just physically, but in spirit, she doesn't give them some perfect list. She just smiles and says, I do 5 things every morning. That's all. And maybe that's the key, because aging isn't just about how the body changes. It's about how the morning feels, whether you wake up with dread or with quiet purpose, whether your feet hit the floor with resentment or with steadiness, whether your day begins in friction or in flow. Frances says it's not about routines. It's about rituals, not chores, not habits, but small, intentional choices that reconnect you to your body, your breath, your direction. If I skip them, she says, I feel it by noon. Not in my muscles, but in my mind, I feel scattered, unmoored. But when I do them, everything lines up. I remember who I am. And that's what this story is really about. Not perfection, not productivity, but remembrance of your own rhythm, of your own voice, of the quiet ways you can begin your day with authority, even when your calendar is empty. So today, we'll walk slowly through the 5 things Frances does each morning. 5 things that have helped her stay clear, steady, and surprisingly light at nearly 100. They're not complicated. They don't require equipment. You don't have to wake up at 5 a.m. or drink green juice or journal for an hour. But if you're over 60 and you've been waking up tired or directionless or aching in more than just your joints, these may offer something gentle, something grounding. We'll start where Frances always starts. Not with coffee, not with conversation, but with a single breath done deliberately while still in bed. The kind of breath that doesn't just bring oxygen. It brings you back to yourself. Frances doesn't sit up right away. She doesn't reach for the lamp or check the clock or throw back the covers. She just lies there, one hand resting over her belly, the other near her heart, and breathes. Not to fall back asleep, not to stretch out the moment, but to arrive. She calls it gathering herself. One long inhale, she says, slow enough to feel the ribs expand. Then a long, soft exhale through the mouth, like you're blowing out a birthday candle in the dark. Not a rush, not a task, just a way to say, I'm still here. It sounds simple, almost too simple. But what Frances knows, and what many forget, is that how you breathe in the first moments of the day sets the tone for everything that follows. A rushed breath carries tension. A shallow breath keeps the mind foggy. But a deliberate breath, one taken before you even speak, reminds your nervous system that there is no threat, that the day can start softly. The older we get, the more easily the body holds on to sleep, to heaviness, to tightness from the night before. And jolting yourself awake, straight into the weight of the day, can feel like a kind of violence. But when you begin with breath, you begin with permission to move at your own pace, to open slowly, to return to the world without being yanked back into it. Frances told me, sometimes that first breath tells me everything. Whether I need to be gentle with myself that day, whether I'm holding sadness in my chest, whether I feel ready, or whether I just need more time. But I never skip it, not once. It's not a technique, it's a reunion. And that breath, just one, maybe two, is all it takes to shift the morning from mechanical to meaningful. You don't need a meditation cushion. You don't need an app. You just need that quiet moment to notice that you are here, breathing. And that breath, no matter how the body feels, is still yours. Frances says that after her breath, she always whispers a word, just one. Sometimes it's peace. Sometimes it's strength. Sometimes it's begin. She doesn't say it for magic. She says it so that her day has shape, not just structure. And from there, she moves. Not quickly, not far, just enough to remind her limbs that they are still welcome. That movement hasn't left her. That her body, whatever shape it's in that day, still belongs to her. That's what we'll ease into next. Not a stretch, not an exercise, a physical hello to the body, as gentle and real as a hand on the shoulder. Something anyone can do, even before their feet touch the ground. Frances doesn't sit up right away. She doesn't reach for the lamp, or check the clock, or throw back the covers. She just lies there, one hand resting over her belly, the other near her heart, and breathes. Not to fall back asleep, not to stretch out the moment, but to arrive. She calls it gathering herself. One long inhale, she says, slow enough to feel the ribs expand. Then a long, soft exhale through the mouth, like you're blowing out a birthday candle in the dark. Not a rush, not a task, just a way to say, I'm still here. It sounds simple, almost too simple. But what Frances knows, and what many forget, is that how you breathe in the first moments of the day sets the tone for everything that follows. A rushed breath carries tension. A shallow breath keeps the mind foggy. But a deliberate breath, one taken before you even speak, reminds your nervous system that there is no threat, that the day can start softly. The older we get, the more easily the body holds on to sleep, to heaviness, to tightness from the night before. And jolting yourself awake, straight into the weight of the day, can feel like a kind of violence. But when you begin with breath, you begin with permission. To move at your own pace, to open slowly, to return to the world without being yanked back into it. Frances told me, sometimes that first breath tells me everything. Whether I need to be gentle with myself that day, whether I'm holding sadness in my chest, whether I feel ready, or whether I just need more time. But I never skip it. Not once. It's not a technique. It's a reunion. And that breath, just one, maybe two, is all it takes to shift the morning from mechanical to meaningful. You don't need a meditation cushion. You don't need an app. You just need that quiet moment to notice that you are here, breathing. And that breath, no matter how the body feels, is still yours. Frances says that after her breath, she always whispers a word, just one. Sometimes it's peace. Sometimes it's strength. Sometimes it's begin. She doesn't say it for magic. She says it so that her day has shape, not just structure. And from there, she moves. Not quickly, not far, just enough to remind her limbs that they are still welcome. That movement hasn't left her. That her body, whatever shape it's in that day, still belongs to her. That's what we'll ease into next. Not a stretch, not an exercise, a physical hello to the body, as gentle and real as a hand on the shoulder. Something anyone can do, even before their feet touch the ground. Frances says the body doesn't like being rushed, especially not after 60, especially not after a night of stillness. She never throws the blankets off like she used to in her 40s. She doesn't hop out of bed. She wakes her body like she would a sleeping child, with kindness, with rhythm, with time. She begins by rolling her ankles, one, then the other. Slow, soft circles. Then her wrists. Sometimes they pop a little. She smiles when they do. That's how I know I'm still working, she says. She wiggles her fingers, stretches them wide, then pulls them into fists and releases. Twice, no more. Then her knees. She slides one up, then the other, feet flat on the bed. Not to strengthen, just to reconnect. It takes maybe 2 minutes. But those 2 minutes change the whole arc of her morning. What she's doing, though she doesn't call it this, is reminding her fascia, the connective tissue around her muscles and joints, that movement is still part of her identity. That her body isn't something to endure, it's something to participate in. And by starting with small, circular gestures, she's not stretching. She's inviting. So many older adults wake up braced. Braced for pain, braced for stiffness, braced for disappointment. And in that bracing, they move in straight lines, if they move at all. But Frances moves like a tide coming in, gently, loosening as she goes, giving her tissues time to hydrate, her joints time to listen, her nervous system time to settle into trust. She said, I used to get up and immediately feel like I was behind. Now I rise like the sun, one part at a time, and no one rushes the sun. This isn't a routine to check off. It's a way to greet yourself, to say, I still live here. I still have agency. This body is still mine to explore, even if it doesn't move like it once did. And when Frances finally sits up, she takes a moment. She swings her legs over the edge of the bed and lets her feet rest on the floor. Both feet, even contact. She doesn't stand yet. She just breathes upright and waits for that quiet sense of balance to arrive. Now I'm vertical, she says to herself. Now I can begin. And she does, but not with chores, not with coffee or emails or news. She begins with warmth, something to drink that doesn't jolt but comforts, a signal to the body that it's no longer sleeping and it's not being chased either. That moment, she says, is the one that steadies her most. And it's what we'll step into next. Not just a beverage, not just hydration, but the first act of internal nourishment, the one that doesn't wake you up but wakes you back to yourself. Frances never starts her morning with coffee, not because she's against it. She enjoys a cup now and then. But first, always something warm and simple. A mug of water with lemon, sometimes ginger, sometimes a splash of apple cider vinegar, but always warm, never cold, never rushed. It's the first kindness I offer my body, she says. Not a jolt, a welcome. She holds a cup in both hands before she sips, not out of ritual but instinct. The heat on her fingers, the scent rising with the steam, it all becomes part of the message. You're awake. You made it through the night, and you don't have to hurry. While the drink cools slightly, she lets her spine lengthen, her shoulders drop, her breath settle into rhythm. She doesn't check her phone. She doesn't read the news. She just sits with warmth in her hands and allows the day to begin from the inside out. We tend to forget how much our bodies depend on water. How hours of sleep gently dehydrate us. How digestion, circulation, cognition, all of it wakes up more easily when we offer moisture before movement. Frances doesn't think in terms of hydration. She just knows that her joints feel better when she drinks slowly, that her mind feels clearer when she starts soft, that she doesn't get dizzy or cold if she lets the warmth reach her core before anything else does. There's something ancestral about it, something that goes beyond age or culture or science. The simple act of putting something warm into the body before demands are made of it, before news, before plans, before even food. It's not about being perfect. Some days it's just hot water. Some days she forgets the lemon, but she never skips it because that cup is not about nutrition. It's about attention to herself, to the moment, to the fact that her body is still working, still deserving, still hers. And maybe that's something we could all give ourselves. Not rules, not routines, but gestures of care. Ones that don't ask for effort, only presence. A moment to sip, to breathe, to remember that even in a world that demands speed and efficiency, you can still begin your day slowly. That slowness is sacred. It creates space. And in that space, something deeper becomes possible. Reflection. Not analysis. Not rumination. But the quiet art of noticing. What you feel. What you need. What matters. Frances says it only takes one question, asked at the right time, to set the entire tone of a day. And that's where we go next. Not to plan, but to listen. Because sometimes the wisest thing you could do each morning is ask yourself something you usually forget to ask. There's a kind of silence that doesn't feel peaceful. It feels heavy, like the quiet that fills a room after the phone hasn't rung in days. Or the stillness of a kitchen where no one's asked, "Are you eating with us tonight?" This is the kind of silence that kills quietly. Social isolation isn't just about living alone. It's about feeling cut off from family, from friendship, from the small exchanges that once made up the fabric of everyday life. Chatting with the cashier, waving to a neighbor, getting a birthday card in the mail. For many people over 70, this disconnection creeps in slowly. First, a spouse passes, then a friend moves to assisted living. The phone stops ringing quite as often. Invitations don't come. And over time, something in the body begins to change. The science on this is deeply unsettling and impossible to ignore. Chronic loneliness increases your risk of dying early by more than 25%. According to studies from the National Institute on Aging, it impacts the heart as much as obesity or smoking. It raises blood pressure, suppresses immunity, and accelerates cognitive decline. But it's not just about statistics. It's about how the days begin to feel longer, how memory seems to fog more often, how energy fades even when sleep is deep. Linda is 74. Her children live 2 states away, and most days she eats her meals alone. "I used to love mornings," she said, "but now sometimes I wake up and just sit in bed because what's the rush?" When the world gets quiet, the body responds. Hormones like cortisol go up. The body stays in a low-grade state of stress, even without us realizing. Inflammation rises. Sleep becomes lighter. Our will to move, to engage, shrinks. But here's something important. Isolation is reversible. Not overnight, not with one phone call, but connection can be rebuilt. Sometimes it starts with a tiny shift, joining a walking club or taking a class at the local library, calling someone just to say you thought of them, asking your neighbor how they're doing and really meaning it. Even pets, yes, even goldfish, have been shown to help reduce feelings of isolation. The simple act of caring for another life form can bring a sense of rhythm and purpose back to the day. And if you're watching this and thinking, "That sounds like me," please know you're not the only one. So many people are quietly aching for someone to talk to, but feel they've lost the right to ask. You haven't. The desire to be seen, to be valued, to matter, that doesn't go away with age. And reaching for connection isn't weakness. It's strength, because sometimes the most life-saving thing we can do after 70 isn't another test or another pill. It's simply saying, "I'd like to be around someone today." And from that one moment, something shifts. The silence breaks, and life starts to return one voice at a time. So what ties it all together? 5 different causes. 5 ways the body can fail after 70. But underneath each one, heart disease, cancer, lung issues, stroke, and isolation, there's a deeper thread. It's how we live, not just medically, but moment to moment. The truth is, most people don't die from a single event. They fade quietly, slowly, inch by inch, because of patterns that were never questioned, signs that were brushed aside, and small habits that piled up year after year. But the opposite is also true. Most people who thrive after 70 don't do it because of perfect genes or perfect diets. They do it because they stay curious. They stay connected. They keep moving mentally, emotionally, physically. They pay attention to what their body whispers before it starts to scream. That's the part we often forget, because the medical system talks in numbers, in medications, in diagnoses. But real longevity? It starts in your kitchen, in your morning routine, and how often you laugh, and whether your feet still touch the grass, whether your heart still feels needed, whether your days still feel like yours. So what can you do today? Maybe it's something as simple as going for that walk you've been meaning to take. Maybe it's looking up a health check you've delayed. Maybe it's calling someone you haven't spoken to in a while, or letting someone in your life know you'd like more time together. Or maybe it's just this deciding not to fade. Not quietly. Not yet. Because every one of the causes we talked about has a path, however small, toward prevention, toward healing, toward feeling alive again. And that's really what this was about, wasn't it? Not just how to avoid death, but how to reclaim life. If you felt something watching this, if you saw a bit of yourself in these stories, don't keep it to yourself. Like this video, subscribe to our channel, and share it with someone who needs it today. We're building a space where age doesn't mean fading away, but waking up to a new kind of power. Thank you for being with us. Share your thoughts in the comments. Tell us what's helped you feel healthy, connected, and alive after 60. And explore more of our videos for honest, useful guidance every step of the way.